Okay, welcome to another episode of Lens Lessons. We're going to take a look at these compositional scenarios right here, and we're going to apply some lighting through the use of shadows on them, okay? So basically, just your snowy bank along with the ash winter ash large, okay? Now on some of these I've just did two of them. This one right here, there's four of them. I stamped, some background ash trees a little bit higher up in the composition, and I've stamped them off once and then stamped them in there to make a little bit of a lighter impression of them. It's probably like a 65%. These ones right here are just a strong, I don't know, whatever, 95, just black impressions. All right. But basically, just what I wanted to do is I wanted to create some opportunities for some hard shadows to come off of those trunk areas like that. You don't have to use this bank right here, but the lesson here isn't so much kind of straight line shadows like I was doing with these pieces right here. Just, the lighting is coming from in here. You can see these straight line shadows like that in here. Here's another one where the lighting is back here. You see these the shadow kind of angles coming off of the base of that trunk right there. But this one right here, you can see it's not supposed to be flat ground. It's supposed to be kind of like rounded terrain, like undulating banks of the shoreline right here. It doesn't have to be a shoreline or something like that. This could be grass down here, and this could be grass up here. It could be, like a frozen pond and snow up here. This is called snowy bank, but if you put green grass in here, it could easily be spring. So maybe we'll do a couple of those different scenarios here. But the main point of this whole lesson is the angles. Okay, so that being said, let's take a look at some angles right here, and let's talk about some different scenarios for those angles. Okay, so just picking out a location for a light source. Light sources don't always have to come from within the scene. A light source could be out here, and we're creating like strong angles this way, based on light source out here. But I usually keep it within the scenario right here. So let's just say I'm going to create a light source from, right where these two branches kind of Y out from the trunk, okay? So just in general, as I was going over with this lesson right here, kind of the base of the trunks, it's kind of like this, okay? So the angle is like this right here, all right? So I'm making a line right up there, and at the base of the trunk, it's something like this, all right? Now that's if this tree was just kind of in a really solid scenario right here, okay? But we're going to angle these a little bit more. So let me just get the general kind of direction of these shadows. And I wouldn't draw them in hard like this normally, but I'm just doing it for, to make a point here. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so I just kind of drew them in lightly, but I don't know if you'd see this one right here goes this way, and this one goes this way. So you see the angles are like this, okay? And they're all going to that one point. They do kind of widen as they move apart from that. So see, it's right at the base of that trunk right there, and it goes back in perspective like that. Okay, but we have, now see, if these trees were just on like solid ground, those would be our shadow angles like that. But because this is on kind of this rounded terrain, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of round this off a little bit more like this, okay? Now I'm going to go with a pretty hard angle, okay? Or line here. So I don't know if you can see it, but this is kind of rounded like that. I mean, it's not like a ball round or something like that, but So you can do these arcs in there like that. Okay, so it's like this and then like this, okay, because there's this little slope right here, okay. Now, like I said, I drew them in kind of hard so that we can kind of see them a little bit more, but what you'd want to do is you'd really want to kind of dissipate, or you can say transition that shadow, going from a little bit darker to a little bit lighter down here. Now, like I said, I wouldn't have these outlines right here so hard, but I just wanted you to be able to see it a lot more clearly. Now, this slope right here, it's a little bit less angled, so we're going to go, it'll look like something like that, okay? So I'm taking it from that and I'm angling it down. Like so. All right, so there's your angles right there, and that's what the light source right here. Now what you do is you just kind of maybe create a little bit of a darker vignette in the background and have kind of the lighting coming from within there. Okay, now the rest of it. See these lines right here, these kind of defining lines in here, and you can certainly see the base of the snowy bank right here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in here and just kind of reiterate that a little bit. And we'll just do this in grayscale right now as an exercise. It's always kind of good to go in and get things, get your concepts down, okay? So we go a little bit darker down here and transition it. You can create a little bit of a shadow at the base of these rocks as well. And I'll show you what this looks like in color here. Not this one, but this, whatever, compositional kind of base on one of these other ones. We'll make it look like a, yeah, like a, I don't know, a snowy scene. And one of the things I'm not saying here is, these little rocks right here, I guess they could make a difference, but I'm creating a little bit of a shadow at the base of them too. And they're kind of like, the shadow on this one's, they're kind of a little bit more on the left side of this rock, okay? So this is the rock right here. I'm kind of doing the shadow a little bit, kind of angling out this way, okay? Now, if this is the light source right here, then a rock over here, the angle for the shadow is kind of a little bit more right side dominant like that, okay? See that right there? Now, if a rock is like way over here, then that line right over here, maybe this shadow goes way out to the edge like that, okay? But do you see it right here where it applies? So you can see this lighting in here. It's really kind of, it's really kind of creating kind of a foundation. We think of these scenes as, kind of image dominant, okay, in terms of the theme of them. But what I see in here is it's kind of become more about the lighting or implied lighting in the scene, and it really sets the mood now. So we can see the difference between these two right here, this one right here and this one right here. In terms of drama, now, we could have like a foggy kind of atmospheric scenario right here, and that creates its own really strong mood where you wouldn't have like really any shadows at all, okay? And that looks really cool too. But this is just, just one way to do it in terms of creating these shadows. It creates a little bit more drama, okay? Kind of the scenario in a really thick bank of fog instead of drama, it becomes a little bit more kind of the mood becomes stronger in terms of maybe, oh, I don't know, serenity or stillness, okay? But if you want, like I said, a little bit more drama, then angles and lighting and contrast tend to, be a really strong contributor to that type of mood. Okay, let's take a look at another scenario here. This we'll keep this right here for like a grayscale scenario. Now, if this is going to represent something like, snow, okay, and we got some bare trees up there. One of the things I like to do is I like to bring in some cool tones, so blues and purples for that purpose, okay? So let's go in and let's do the same thing. It's kind of hard to tell what I've done down in here because it's in grayscale and black and white against a black and white stamp scenario here, but let's go and add some tones in our cool scenario here, okay? Go right along the shoreline like that and into the water. And then there's some little snowy rocks within that water. I tend to leave the tops of the rocks kind of a little bit lighter. Where the top of the snow is. So on this rock right down here, it's a snow-covered rock. Okay. Now this isn't a complete coloring job, but again, it's just to kind of illustrate the the lighting aspect of the piece that we can, add to the scene. Okay, this is, it's developing pretty well here. This is just, of course, one color that I've used so far. I mean, you can go kind of minimal. You wouldn't want to use 10 colors or something like that in here. There's just not that space if you want it to be kind of reminiscent of snow. But here's a lighter, kind of more jewel toned blue. It's a little bit more. It's probably got a little bit of a slight warmth to it because it has a little bit of a like yellow in it. Just a touch. So it's a little bit of a temperature change. So it just kind of enriches that one tone of blue. Okay. And here's a purple, a little violet maybe for maybe the deepest areas of shading. Pink also works really good. Pink in addition to blue becomes violet. Okay, let's mix things up a little bit. Let's put the light source coming from, let's say right here, okay? Just where that one branch meets this larger branch right here, okay? So right there in that Y. Okay, let me just, I'm gonna eyeball it here, okay? But let me get my angles down a little bit. This one's a pretty, not horizontal, but kind of. You can see the angles are like this, and like this, and like that. Okay. Let's go with, I'll start with that blue that I went with before, okay? And Snow is very reflective, so I'm not gonna make um, my shadows too strong, okay? Because there's just so much light reflecting in here. Okay, let's go like this. And again, you kind of want to transition it a little bit. So here's the shadow coming through here. It doesn't really look like anything though right now because it's the only shadow we've created. Okay, now here's the other one. Now let me try to angle it a little bit like this. See this? That's another angle there. Kind of getting my bearings again from... See, this kind of angled down like this, you know, like this. I don't know, they could be a couple little arcs. But let's see, it's going over this way, kind of, so... I mean, at some point in time, it's like branching off, and you know, the other trunk and stuff like that is like in there, so you can kind of have that going off like this. I don't know how it would look if I'm kind of faking it here, but see that how it kind of like splits off like that. I guess this one would be splitting off too, like this. I don't know how it would look. I'm just like totally faking it right here, but see that right there? And then this one, we'll have it going down like this on this slope right here, okay? All right, so you see that. And let's add a little bit of purple into it. Okay, so there we have our kind of shadows working across there. It'd kind of be fun to have like a deer or something, or that little sledding kid in there somewhere. Let me try a little bit of something here. Let me try to create a little bit of a darker transition right here and going all the way to black. Just right at the kind of starting point of the shadow. To me, I'm just seeing if it'll anchor those trees into the scenario a little bit more. And I think it does. Yeah, we'll just kind of keep it fairly subtle. Like that. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. A little bit of a stronger transition, being that the shadow starts off just a little bit darker right there. Yeah, it looks like a lot better. I think that looks really good now. I've decreased the contrast between the base of the trunk and the beginning of the shadow, but it's like a quarter inch or something like that right in there, okay? Now don't do it like this and create another like harsh thing like that. What I'm doing is I'm going like this, and then that kind of transitions off like that. So that's what's going on right there in those shadows. But do you see these angles right here? You know, kind of like that, and like this. When this one becomes much more vertical, like that, because that's that vanishing point right there. All right, so there you have that. Now let's do something on this one. Let's do some kind of grassy scenario right here. Let's create, you know, a springtime type of thing. Now you can color in this with some dye-based inks, then you go over it with some additional pencils if you want to, but let's just keep this really, I don't know, whatever, quick and easy right here. So I'm going with kind of a yellow-green as a base. It's kind of like what I would do with dye-based inks. I would go with a kind of yellow a lighter warm green kind of base coat, and then I would build up into some darker greens. But let's just keep this really quick and easy right here. By the way, I'm using a semi-gloss cardstock. If you're using a like a matte cardstock, your pencils, you can build up more on there. So, yeah. Okay, so green here. Okay, going with a little bit more green. Now I'm not doing my, my tree shadows quite yet, of course. I'm just kind of, I don't know, kind of filling in the space in here. Reminiscent of a green, I don't know, whatever, springtime, springtime grassy scenario. Maybe there'd be more leaves on the tree at this point in time. Or I'll add in some things so you can see it in kind of a little bit more complete form, or kind of moving towards completion at least. Okay, but do you see my transitions right here? Going from darker to lighter like that, okay? All right, that was the second green, and we'll go on a third here. Kind of adding this one roughly where I added the darker, the second green. All right, while we're at it, don't need to do too much, but we'll just add a little bit of blue into this water down here. Okay, now it'd be good to add in a little bit of tone into the sky. When I don't do it with colored pencils, I usually do it with dye-based inks, but let's create our grassy scenario. So let's do what's going to create kind of some strong shadows. Let's go about, if I go down here and put the like a sunrise or something like that, or set, then the lines would be like this, the shadows. I want them coming down here a little bit more, so we need to go up a little bit higher into the composition from our light source, or implied light source. Let's go right here. It's like where these branches are meeting from the two trees, like about like that. Okay. So let's see what our angle is going to be. What I'm finding is I'm just kind of putting a little bit of a line down like this, like right down the middle of the trunk right there. With these being kind of well, not kind of, but they're arced angles. I think that's the best way to do it. Just put a line right down the middle, like that. Okay, do you see these shadow angles right here, right there? It's that little line right there and there. Okay, but we're going to arc them though, okay? So we'll go like this. And we're doing it in green because, green grass with a shadow on it is going to just be a darker green. Not that you can't use some other colors in it, but just in general, okay? All right. This one's not as arced as I would want here. There we go, like that. All right. See our shadows like that? Now that's a little standing out a little bit too much, so we need to add in some other, darker tones within here to kind of match that shadow a little bit more, just to kind of blend it a touch. We want them to be there, but we want there to be some additional shadows in here, because these shadows right here are pretty defined and pronounced. So let's add shadows, additional shadows accordingly, okay? Feeling this is like a sunrise scenario or something. So I'm going a little bit heavier with that initial kind of warm green that I used. That, and here's the darkest green. Let's build it right into the base of the shadows a little bit more. And I think the black will, kind of finish this off really nicely. Let's go to black and just add it in, I don't know, like I said, about a 1/4 inch. But transition it though, just kind of go for a light touch. I'm kind of going like this with it. All right, there's our shadow scenario like that. Let's take a look at these right here. Just grayscale, snowy scenario right there. This one could use, after doing this one, I thought, we can use a little bit more, tone on that one. But here's a piece that's just stamped on the pre-printed vintage style paper, stationery or something like this. This one you can see like the lighting is kind of already over here because there's this vignette on a full page, piece of 8.5 by 11. So it's dark right here. It'd be dark over here in the 2 bottom corners. So let's put our light source coming from this way over here. Okay, so I mean, it'd really be down here, but then we won't see any shadows. So I'm kind of moving it up here, or you can create a moon behind here or something like that. But let's just create it right up here. Let me just eyeball this right here. And on this one right here, I'll just use a black colored pencil. Okay, it's always kind of working on that transition there. If you go too dark down there, just, I don't know, take a colored or a eraser if you want to, and erasing some. Yeah, if you want to. Or if you go too dark down here, just make it darker up here so that this area right here is a little bit lighter by contrast. Okay, so coming in like that. I'm just kind of eyeballing it this time. Okay, and okay, so a little bit darker around the trunk, like so. And you see our shadow scenario here. Or you can say lighting scenario. Okay, and a little bit of extra shading kind of in here. Just go with a really light touch. Okay. It has a different feel to it, huh? This antique paper. It's pretty cool. I'm just kind of branching off, some of those, secondary branches right up there. Okay. So you have your light and shadow areas in here for, additional drama in the scene. Let's see here. Looking for some paint pens here. Okay, where's my light green? Oh, here we go, finally. Springtime in the Grove. Kind of just doing, I don't know, kind of sparingly adding in some additions in here. I mean, you can make it really full if you want to, but yeah, I kind of leave the trees to be, to show the spirit of the design, which is a leafless one, but this just kind of, it's a tree for all seasons, in theory, because you can plant whatever you want on it, but, we'll leave some of it so we keep some of the gesture of the, the branches and everything like that. Which means we don't have to add as much of this. It looks cool just adding it kind of sparingly in there. Okay, so a little bit of a lighter green on top. Like so. Haven't used this in a while. Get them flowing again. Good. We got a lot of beautiful spring blossoms on these trees. How's that? I like to put a few little down here in the meadow, as if some of the flowers, petals have fallen down here below, like so. Let's take some white here. All right, so our lighting is kind of coming from in here. Let's put a little bit of a kind of a shimmery light, or these could be white wildflowers too, so I kind of cluster them a little bit. For the most part, I'm kind of putting them in the lighter area. Doesn't that kind of give it a little bit of a spring type of glow to it? And let's see, I'll put some of it across my shadows too, just to break up the hard line of the shadows in here a little bit. And let's go up here and add some white to some of those spring blossoms. The petals are kind of white with the tinge of violet in them. Okay, now you can do this type of thing too. You can put this shimmer into the snow like this, and it makes the... I mean, you can't do it. You got to add it where you've added some tone, like, with the blue and the violets and things like that. Otherwise, white on white isn't going to show up. But you throw it in there and it kind of adds a nice kind of textural element. If you've toned out all of your tops of your snow-covered rocks, you can just go back in there and just reclaim it with this pen right here. But You can see it's just kind of adding that glistening type of look into that snow again, so it adds light back into it, like that. Okay, so anyways, kind of going along with lighting and shadow work in our scenes, and kind of assessing the angles that we would use for it. Now, like I said, on these three right here on white paper, I mean, adding a little bit of tone into the background to kind of emphasize where that lighting direction is coming from, that would be a good idea, but I just wanted to keep this one nice and simple. I'll go back and I'll add a little bit of tone to the background of some of these just to kind of isolate that light source a little bit more on there. And then we'll go back and we'll add a little bit of maybe some white pigment ink into these pieces and really give it some, some strong atmosphere. But anyways, that's your kind of, now this is one type of lighting here. This is backlit types of scenarios, which gives us the opportunities for more shadows. We can do a front lit scenario with the shadows going in, back in the distance or something like that. I usually don't do that though. I always do backlit scenarios just because you can really emphasize those shadows like that. And if we're going for kind of drama, then having kind of that shadow going back there like that, it really opens up some opportunities for these additional angles. And that's kind of where the visual movement comes into our pieces, when we introduce different angles like that. But again, I don't do that on all my scenes. Like I said, I really like a kind of a deep, foggy type of scenario with, just a little bit of shadows at the base of a tree or something like that. But we go in here and we add in some like heavy kind of fog and mist on the ground, and that lends itself to a really kind of a quiet morning, foggy morning type of atmospheric setting, and that's good too. But again, we're going for lighting in this lesson. All right, so anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you got some good pointers from this one in these really, pretty simple scenarios right here in terms of just using some colored pencils like that and transitioning your shadow strength, going from dark to light, and then, of course, with these little arcing motions over, kind of uneven terrain, which we often have in scenic stamping. It's not just these flat types of surfaces that we find are trees or something like that, or cabins surrounded by, or, that type of thing. All right, thanks again for watching.